Can you hear me?
Absolutely, I can hear you loud and clear. How can I help you today?
You know what's really confusing me?
I'm here to help. Feel free to let me know what's confusing you and we'll figure it out together.
Can I say, you know what's confusing? You know what's really confusing? Can I say this?
Absolutely, you can say it just like that. Both ways sound natural, so feel free to use whichever feels more comfortable for you.
Okay, so you know what's really confusing? Like what really confusing me is that how to use affect and impact. So I know what effect means, but I really confusing about how to use this impact, the verb, and then affect. So can you please explain to me how to use that?
Of course, it can definitely be tricky. So, generally speaking, affect is usually a verb and it means to influence something. For example, the weather can affect your mood. On the other hand, impact can be used as both a noun and a verb. As a verb, it means to have a strong effect on something. For instance, the new policy will impact the economy. So, the main difference is that affect is almost always a verb, while impact can be either a noun or a verb. Hopefully
Okay.
that helps clear.
But let's say so like affect itself can be it's always be a verb, right? But impact can be a verb or a noun, right? Is that what you say?
Exactly, you got it. So affect is almost always used as a verb, while impact can function as both a verb and a noun. You've got the idea perfectly.
Okay, then like if those like affect and impact used as verb, like the meaning is always the same, so it can be interchangeable. Like interchangeable, is that sounds right? Can it be interchangeable?
You're on the right track. In many cases, affect and impact can be used similarly when they're both verbs, and they both mean to influence something. However, sometimes impact might carry a slightly stronger or more forceful connotation, but generally they're pretty interchangeable in most contexts. And yes, interchangeable sounds perfect.
Okay, interchangeable. Okay, not interchangeable. Okay, interchangeable. Is that how to pronounce interchangeable?
You got it. That's exactly how it's pronounced, interchangeable. You're doing great with the pronunciation.
Okay, then let's say we can say okay, let me just make a sentence for with this. So new real estate policy will affect the housing market, or new like tax policy will impact on the real estate market. So I often heard the impact used with the the verb impact usually come with the preposition on. Is it right? So that's why I use like it'll impact on the housing market. Am I right? So can you just compare these two sentences if that's right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. When you use impact as a verb, it often pairs with on. So, for example, you can say the new tax policy will impact the housing market, and that's perfectly natural. On the other hand, affect is used directly as a verb without needing a preposition. Like in your first sentence, the new real estate policy will affect the housing market. Both sentences are correct, but you've got the usage spot on.
Okay, so like the verb impact always use with on or no?
It's very common to use impact with on, but it's not always mandatory. You can sometimes say impact without it, especially in more formal contexts. For example, the policy will impact the economy is perfectly fine on its own, but in everyday usage, adding on definitely makes it sound more natural, so it's kind of flexible.
Okay, so then let me just like okay, it will affect or it will impact on something. So I can also say let's say this YouTube channel is very bad, so I'm afraid this might be affect my child. So it doesn't kind of make sense, or it will impact on my child's education. So in this case, I want to say like bad influence on my child. So which verb will be appropriate in this sentence? It's like have a bad influence on, or it'll be a bad influence on. What kind of verb would come with this?
In that context, you'd usually use affect as a verb. For example, you could say, this might affect my child, or this might negatively affect my child. If you want to highlight the influence more strongly, you could say, this will have a bad influence on my child, or this will impact my child's education. In short, affect works well as a verb for that kind of influence, and impact can also work, especially if you want to emphasize the strength of that influence.
Okay, then if I want to say like influence, then the verb usually come with have, like have a good influence on my child, have a bad influence on, or have a negative influence on my kids, like something like that. So verb have is come with this.
Exactly, you've got it. When you're talking about influence, it's really common to use have as the verb, like have a good influence or have a negative influence. It's a very natural and clear way to express that idea. Great job.
Okay, so can you just give me some situation, then I will use affect, impact, or have influence on something. So I will form a sentence if you give me some situation. Can you just make that situation?
Of course, let's do that. How about this situation? Imagine you're talking about a new school policy. You could say the new school policy will blank student behavior. Now you can fill in the blank with affect, impact, or have an influence on, depending on how you want to frame it.
Okay,
Or
okay, let me just finish this. Okay, there is a new school policy, and I believe the new school policy will impact the students.
That sounds great. You've used impact perfectly in that sentence. It's clear and natural. If you want another situation, just let me know and we can practice some more.
Yeah, I need another one.
Sure thing. Let's try this scenario. Imagine there's a new technology introduced at work. You could say, this new technology will blank employee productivity. Now you can fill in the blank with affect, impact, or have an influence on to see how it changes the meaning. Let me know how you'd like to fill it in.
Okay, so there's a new technology. I am sure this new technology will positively affect the employees' productivity. So it will affect, or it will have a positive influence on employees' productivity.
That's perfect. Both ways sound natural and clear. You can say will positively affect employee productivity or will have a positive influence on employee productivity. You did a great job with that example.
Can we do more?
Absolutely, we can keep going. Feel free to let me know any scenario you have in mind, or I can come up with more examples for you. Just let me know what you'd like to practice next.
I have nothing in my mind, so just give me a very practical word that I can use in the real estate. I mean, like, can you just be more practical and I can use in daily conversation? So of course, like I'm like in my 40s, so like those tax or housing price or that, in that context I might use that a lot. And then or some that new program or that, like, I don't know. So yeah, just give me a situation.
Got it. Let's try a practical scenario related to real estate. For instance, imagine there's a new tax incentive for homeowners. You could say, this new tax incentive will positively affect the housing market, or this program will have a positive impact on property values. Another example could be the rising interest rates might negatively affect home affordability. These kinds of sentences can definitely come in handy in everyday conversations about real estate.
Okay, now like I got it. So when we say, so you often use like it will positively affect or negatively affect, we use this kind of verb. And then the impact, I often heard that it is often used with it will huge impact on, like huge is always come with this. Am I right?
Yes, exactly. When you use impact, it's really common to pair it with descriptive adjectives like huge, significant, or major to emphasize the scale of the effect. So you might say it will have a huge impact on the housing market, or it will significantly impact property values. You've definitely got the idea down.
Okay, so yeah. So what are adverbs usually paired with?
Great question. There are quite a few verbs that are commonly paired with these kinds of nouns or contexts. For example, you might use influence, as in to influence something, or affect, as we discussed. You can also use shape or determine, as in to shape the market, or to determine the outcome. Another common verb is affect itself, as well as impact, and even alter or transform. All of these can help you convey different nuances depending on what you're describing. If you want more examples, just let me know.
Okay, I think I'm good with this.